Hi, I'm Larry Richardson, your step-by-step chef. In this episode, we're going to make an absolutely delicious vegetarian dish. This is cauliflower, broccoli, and carrots with an absolutely fantastic garlic, fresh herb, and olive oil dressing. You are really going to love this, and we're going to blanch the vegetables. I know that's a new term in our series, but it's very easy to do, and the payoff is enormous. So come on, let's cook. So here are the ingredients for our delicious broccoli, cauliflower, carrots, and garlic, fresh herb, and olive oil dressing. We're going to use 3 cups of broccoli florets, 3 cups of cauliflower florets, 1 cup of carrots. These are going to be finely sliced, and again, we're going to blanch these. Then we're going to use 4 garlic cloves, 3 tablespoons of parsley, 2 tablespoons of oregano, 1 tablespoon of rosemary, and 1 tablespoon of basil. And when I say tablespoon, that's the yield when we mince or we food process these different fresh herbs. Now, if you cannot get this variety of fresh herbs, what I recommend is that you rely heavily on parsley, which in most areas you can get. You know, even if you have to use 6 tablespoons of parsley, that's fine. But if you can get any of these other herbs to mix in with that parsley, that's even better. So I do understand that fresh herbs are not always easy to get. In fact, that's why I have to grow my own. So consider that you may have to substitute some of the other herbs or eliminate some of the herbs that you can't get just to arrive at that 6 tablespoon of herb yield. And if you just use parsley, again, that's just fine. The other thing is you're going to need is 1 teaspoon of white wine vinegar, 1 teaspoon of salt, and half a cup of olive oil. And that pretty much does it. So let me show you how to put all this together. So let's put together our garlic, herb, and olive oil mix. So the first thing we'll do is crush, or finely mince, if you don't have a crusher, our garlic right into this little container. And this is actually the bowl that we'll use for the dip. And you know that if you think you're going to need more dip, just multiply the recipe. It's that easy. And if you don't like garlic, you could leave it out of this, but you're kind of missing some of the magic and essence that makes this so special. So now let's work with our herbs. And for the herbs, what we do is just take the different sections, like this is rosemary, and with rosemary, just take it back like this and the leaves peel right off. And I'm putting it into my food processor. If you don't have a food processor, just mince these on your cutting board, but mince them real fine. You do not want big pieces of the herb in this dish at all. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just kind of taking the stems off the basil. I'm going to take the oregano and peel that back the same way I did the rosemary. And it's all going into the food processor. And it's a very basic process, and all these herbs have been pre-rinsed. And you can see how easy it is to work with them. And they do have just such a unique deliciousness. I absolutely love fresh herbs. That's why I actually bother to grow my own, because I just love to have tons of them on hand when I'm cooking for my friends and family. It's just absolutely worth it. And, you know, this is one of those rare dishes where I won't tell you that you can use dried herbs. It just won't work. The dried, it's just too potent, too crunchy, and quite frankly, slightly stale tasting. So I would rather have you just use all parsley. And I love parsley. That's why parsley and garlic go really well together. So all parsley would work just fine in this. Or parsley with a little bit of any of these other herbs that you can get your hands on, and it'll come out just perfect. But, you know, just use your imagination. Here's the parsley. I'm just taking the leaves off, just like this. Just clipping them off. And the reason I'm doing this is I don't like stems. Some people will make this, run it through their food processor with the stems. It might add some flavor to it, but you're risking adding a very, I think, a very unpleasant texture. if the stems remain whole after the food processing has been accomplished, or even after the mincing. It's just not that pleasant. And, you know, I know that you've watched every single of the 100+ step-by-step chef videos, and you've seen the free recipes on step-by-step chef. So you do know that I really do not like the stems in herbs. It's one of those pet peeves. And we all have cooking pet peeves. And, you know, you probably have your own. Hey, your pet peeve might be people who take the stems out of these dishes. Maybe you like it stemmy, but I just never have. So you can see I'm just picking this clean. And if you're just working with parsley, again, get extra parsley, get those 6 tablespoons of parsley, and just snip them off just like this. It just seems like parsley is available everywhere. So I think most people can find it. But I've traveled just about everywhere in the country, and I do know that there are areas where it's tough to get herbs. But, you know, in most places you can grow your own year-round. It might take a little bit of work at first, but wow, if you wanna cook and you want to take your cooking to a different level, not necessarily a better level, but a different level, then working with fresh herbs is worth it. It will be recognized. That's the funny thing about fresh herbs is people eat these dishes with the fresh herbs in them. They go, wow, what is that? What is that? That's so fresh tasting and so unique. Well, it's these herbs. Nature knew what it was doing when it made these herbs. And if you're mincing, again, get rid of the stems, finely mince. Finely mince this. You don't want big chunks of any of these herbs in your dish. Okay, so I pretty much have all of the available leaves in the food processor. I'm just going to move the garlic aside, and let me check our camera angle. Sometimes my producer and cameraman and studio manager don't get the placement right, which of course is me. I mean, I wash the dishes. I am the step-by-step chef. I am a full service cook. I do it all. And, and I actually enjoy it. I just find cooking to be very therapeutic. So now what I'm going to do is just run this until the herbs look finely minced. Just really finely minced. I don't want to go beyond that. I certainly don't want to make herb juice, which I know some people like. So I'm just doing it on the chop setting. Oh, and I just wanted to mention, food processors have come down substantially in price. I'm an old guy. You might have noticed that in the introduction. And when food processors were introduced in the 1980s, woo, you paid for it right through the nose. But you know, 40 years later, here we are, and the price isn't that bad. So let's give this a good chopping. Okay. Now you can see what we're looking for. And even if you're mincing, you want to get it real tiny. It almost looks like relish. It's so tiny, and it is short of juicing. I don't want you to make this as a juice. So there's our garlic back. Just checking my camera angle. Everyone up in the control room says it's just perfect. And then we just scrape it with the back of your knife. I'm sure somebody out there is cringing and going, oh my God, chefs aren't supposed to do that. Well, I'm a cook who calls himself a chef because it rhymes with step by step. And because I've worked for 45 years in my own kitchens. I've cooked for myself since forever. I think, oh my gosh, I think I've been cooking in my kitchen since Jimmy Carter was president. And as of this taping, he's still around. That's not bad. So you can see that's filling it up nicely. Let me just try to get the last of it. Wow. the garlic and the herbs together. They were just made for it. And now we'll add our 1 teaspoon of white wine vinegar. Don't overdo this though, because it tends to be very, very tart. So don't overdo that. And then we'll add our teaspoon of salt. Perfect. And then what we're going to do is add our ½ cup of olive oil. And then just stir that in. And give it a little taste. At this point, give it a little taste. If you think it needs more garlic, more of the white wine vinegar, more salt, and even more herbs if you have them in hand, then go ahead and do it. So now we're going to prepare the blanched vegetables that we're going to work this into, this dressing. Now let's prepare the vegetables for blanching. And what I want to do is, first of all, just cut the nubs off of the carrots. There we go. And these carrots have been rinsed and a little bit scrubbed, so they're in fine shape. And then what I want to do with the carrots is cut them very thin. And the reason I'm doing that is if you leave it real thick, when we're blanching broccoli and cauliflower at the same time, the carrots won't blanch as well because they just tend to be tougher. So you can see I'm just cutting these down. Some of the carrots are running away. Just cut them down into these really super thin slices. These are under 1/8 of an inch. And I'm just going down like this. And then as it gets a little bit more difficult, then I'll separate it out and just do a couple of the carrots at the same time. So just give them a nice slicing. And I'm not going to bore you, so I will finish slicing these off camera. And then I'll be back and we'll do the cauliflower and the broccoli. And through the magic that is television, we're down to the last carrot. And I put the carrot slices, the other carrot slices, in the bowl already. So there you go. Nice, thin sliced carrots. And the reason I'm doing all of this prep work is when you're cooking under any circumstances, try to get all of the prep work done ahead of time because you don't want to be scrambling around with a hot stove. Try to get the prep work done. And then you just throw all the ingredients in and it comes out just perfectly. Now here's our cauliflower. One of my local stores had a sale on pre-cut cauliflower. If you're working with a full-size cauliflower, which is about all you'll need, you just cut that base off where the leaves are. Cut the base off until you have chunks like this. And then to make it into florets, you just cut these pieces off. Just keep cutting it a little bit finer. It's okay if you slice some of the pieces, but this is what you want to do with the cauliflower. Just put it into these pieces about this size. Those are bite-sized pieces. And I'm just going to do that with this whole bowl, and then I'll be right back. And here's the last of our cauliflower. Again, just cut it into these little bite-sized pieces. And that's perfect. And then we're going to cut up our 3 cups of broccoli next. But here's our broccoli, and honestly, we do not need these big stemmy pieces. You can save those for other purposes. Sometimes I'll shred those up and turn them into coleslaw. So there's a lot of stuff you can do with this. They're very sweet, and they actually taste good cooked, but just not in this recipe. This is a bite-sized recipe. So we're cutting that off, cutting it a little finer, getting rid of a little bit more of this, and then we're taking these florets, and we're just cutting them into bite-sized pieces too. And we'll do this until we have 3 cups of broccoli ready to roll. And luckily, the size of a lot of these florets, they don't even need really much chopping. So again, I'm not going to bore you, but I'm going to do this until I have 3 cups of broccoli. Okay, so we time traveled, and here's the last of the 3 cups of broccoli that we need. That bowl's ready. Now we're going to go over to the stove and we're going to blanch this. Blanching is putting our vegetables into this hot water for about 4 minutes and then spooning them with a slotted spoon into this ice water to cool them down. Why? First of all, it locks in the flavor, it locks in the color, and it gives the vegetables just the right crispness. So we don't want vegetables that are overcooked, you know, the kind that you'd normally serve at dinner. We want this to have almost a salady crisp, but we don't want the vegetables to be raw. So what we're going to do right now is put our veggies in here, count out 4 minutes, and then spoon them into that ice water. And you'll be amazed at how beautiful it looks. And be careful when you put the vegetables into the scalding hot water. I don't want you to get splashed by it because you can get scalded. So be real careful. Go slow at it. Make sure everything's under control. Don't just splash the whole bowl of vegetables into this. Okay. And here's one escapee piece of broccoli. Now I'm going to bring this back to a boil, which is going to happen pretty quickly. Okay, a minute in, this water's plenty hot, and I'm just going to count out my 4 minutes from now. Again, the point is for these vegetables to still have some crispness to them. We don't want to overcook them. So I'm counting off my 4 minutes. And 4 minutes later, you can see these are rolling. They are Blanche du Bois, as Tennessee Williams would say, right into that bath. Can you see that color? Wow, is that vivid, isn't it? So they're cooked, they're crisp. I'm taking them out very slowly, carefully, and putting them into the ice bath. They're going to cool down. That locks in the flavor, locks in the color, locks in the crispness. So the ice bath is an important part of this process, because otherwise when you take vegetables off the stove, often they just keep cooking. If they're hot, they'll keep cooking. So this gives us some control over the process and the results. So I'm going to spoon all these out, and then I'm going to drain these out of the ice water. Okay, so I strained our vegetables. Look at that color. Doesn't it look delicious? And we're just going to put them in this bowl. And if you don't have a strainer, you can certainly use your slotted spoon to pull them out of the chilling bath and put them into your bowl. This is our mixing bowl for our garlic, herb, and olive oil dressing. And we just take this and we stir it in. And give it a nice stir. You want this distributed nice and even. And as I always tell you, if you think you might need a little bit more salt, a little bit more of the garlic, a little bit more of the herbs, go ahead. Make it your own. You just made it my way. I'm not a cooktator. Make it your way. And this absolutely has a delicious, fresh aroma. And it's a very unique dish, I think. I think your friends and family are absolutely going to love this. Wow, that just smells delicious. So congratulations, look at what you just made. You just made this delicious cauliflower, broccoli, and carrots blanched with your own special garlic, herb, and olive oil dressing. This is absolutely delicious. Now again, you might want to add a little bit more salt, a little bit more of this or that to your own taste, but the elements are all here, and it's worth doing. Learn how to blanch. I mean, when you know how to blanch, you can make these vegetables look fantastic and taste absolutely fresh and amazing. Now, if you like this recipe, please visit my website, stepbystepchef.com. There you will find a printable version of this, along with printable versions of well over 100 other recipes that also have free video links that show you how to make them. I just love to cook and I love to share it with you. The other thing you're going to find on the site is Cooking with the Step-by-Step Chef. This is my cookbook, and I do plan on updating it annually. So if this recipe is not in there right now, it will be eventually, but you will be able to find it on stepbystepchef.com. This book has my 114 first recipes. Each one does come with a free video link that will show you how to make them as if I'm standing next to you. And I just absolutely love to show you how to cook. This is also a great book for your friends and relatives who want to cook but feel a little bit intimidated because an awful lot of the websites go at it like monsters at you and they don't show you how to actually cook. I want to fill that gap in, and this is how I'm doing it with stepbystepchef.com and Cooking with the Step-by-Step Chef. So my name's Larry Richardson. I am your Step-by-Step Chef, and I'll see you in the next episode.